Uh, Joined now by Will Blackmon, former Hendricken Hawk, former BC Eagle, Super Bowl champion, NFL pro for what, 10, 11 years, right?
I'll take 12.
12, okay. How are you adjusting to coronavirus life?
Wow, first question. You know what? Here's the thing. Outside of the virus, growing up back east, I was a homebody anyway. Dealing with snowstorms, dealing with hurricanes, and what have you, and also getting grounded here and there, being on punishment. I got real creative, being indoors, and with our family, same thing. We get real creative. Our kids love being home, so we have a very homebody friendly house. But what it is affecting is just in terms of, I'm self-employed with my wine business and trying to get a deal with a network. All my auditions got, postponed. All my meetings can't really take place, unless I use Zoom or something else. But it's been crazy. And personally, I have a lot of family in New York, a lot of immediate family who is around all that stuff. So it's pretty crazy.
So, yeah, it's obviously affecting your day-to-day life. Are you daddy daycare like I am right now during the day? I know your son's a little bit older, but you have a little one too, right?
Yeah, our kids are 9 and 5, but they get along like unbelievably great. So
Yeah, that's good.
for 90% of the time they are self-monitored, but they do have 99 questions. Like they are just all over the place. And also the cool thing with school, obviously there's a lot of homeschool curriculum going on, but my wife Shauna, she's so involved with writers' homework assignments, so it's not really a change or a huge shock for her because she's always involved with his work.
Nice. Yeah, I'm teaching kindergarten right now with my daughter, and then I teach a class at URI, so I have both ends of the spectrum. I got a college kids, and I have a 5-year-old. All right, I want to dive into what's going on in the NFL right now. Let's start with a guy you and I watched a lot growing up here in New England, Tom Brady. How surprised were you, A, that he left, and B, that he ended up in Tampa?
I was not surprised that he left, but I'm surprised that he decided to play for somebody else. Because I honestly was like, okay, Brady is the New England Patriot.
Right.
And after that, like, why? What else do you need to do? I understand if he stayed, maybe because it's like, okay, there's 2 organizations that have 6. Maybe he wants to get 7, New England or who knows what it is. But it makes sense. Maybe his competitive edge is, hey, Peyton did it somewhere else.
Right.
Yeah, I can do it somewhere else, and I know he said this a long time ago. He was like, I'm not going to retire until I think I'm not good.
Right. I think he said until I suck even.
Yeah, that's
Do you think he has anything left in the tank? Because entering his year 43 season, his numbers weren't as good last year. There's no disputing that. You can blame it on the weapons, some other things.
But that's a big deal. That's a huge deal, to do that because, I mean, I know he's younger, but same was said with Carson Wentz.
Right.
It's like he did a lot with very little. And sure, he made way more game-changing plays if you look at it from the broader spectrum, but did a lot with the little. And that's pretty much what's going on across the league. Is like teams are drafting a young quarterback. They're playing now as opposed to back then. They sat out for 3 or 4 years, but they're playing the guys now, which is a cap-friendly situation, and they're loading up the teams with weapons. So if there's a situation out there that looks good for Brady, where he's like, okay, I can go here and not throw 30 picks with these weapons and light it up.
So when you look at the situation with him going to Tampa, no OTAs, it feels like, with coronavirus. This guy's so meticulous with his preparation. He and Josh McDaniels knew the Pats playbook in and out. How hard is it for him to create an offense with Bruce Arians without a lot of preparation this offseason?
I won't say that is that difficult, just for the simple fact of it's football. He's been playing football his whole life, the NFL for 20 years. And I'm sure, once he goes over there, he's going to find out or show them what they like. They're doing homework. I'm sure they did a ton of homework on Tom Brady, and they know what he likes. So they're not going to come over here and it's like, hey, you got to learn the new system. Basically, he's going to have to learn these receivers. That's all. And I don't know what it's going to be like, but I know what Peyton, when he went to Denver, Peyton brought all his stuff with him.
Right.
Okay, the house had no furniture, and he and he brought all his stuff.
Yeah.
And it has to be the same way. It doesn't make any sense at all for Tom to go in there and try to learn a new system and try to get up to speed. Doesn't make any sense.
I don't know if you have any friends on the Patriots. I know you've played with guys, been on the Patriots and being around the
Everybody's gone.
Everyone's gone. What do you think people that have played for the Pats, is the Belichick way of coaching after 20 years, is that just so exhausting, or does it take a certain player to be able to play for him? Because it felt like at the end he was sort of tired of Belichick's routine.
I mean, you would know better than I do. I think just maybe he's just always been curious, so, hey, what is it like somewhere else? What is it like to play for somebody else? And if he has that luxury, then by all means go do it. But I just feel like the Belichick way is pretty much how he was his entire career, even as an assistant. Very, he liked to tedious work, very detailed, very prepared.
Well, you played for Tom Coughlin, and he was like that.
I played for Coughlin, but it was more of strategic as a whole team. It was more so just his leadership as opposed to how Belichick he has hands-on everything in terms of preparation, detail, and also player evaluation. And I remember the two Bills documentary where Lawrence Taylor didn't respect them, but then eventually he was like, look, eventually there wasn't a game we weren't prepared for, and we respected that. And it does take a certain guy to understand that, and also to gain respect for a coach who never really played the game at a high level. So I think, but that's why they're always in it, because they always find players that get it. I remember my last year with the Redskins, I sat with Coach Jay Gruden, and we were actually comparing rosters. We have by far more talent overall, and they had so many outcasts, but these guys were producing because they understood the details and preparation and the discipline as a player. Who
did you strip in that game in Foxborough?
Edelman. He was my matchup that day.
How was that?
It was cool. I mean, he's very. I know it's gonna be a long day because he is competitive every single play. Yeah. I wasn't so much worried about his speed or how quick he was off the line. Actually, the more difficult matchup I thought was Amendola. I thought he was way quicker off the line of scrimmage. But in terms of making the tough catch, making the tough plays, running his mouth is Julian, and it was fun.
Do you know anything about Adrian Phillips, who the Patriots signed as a safety? He was a former Charger.
I know he almost reminds me of, who they had. Chargers had a bunch of guys. They had, I remember Kasim Osgood, and they had Stuckey that were, guys that were really good on special teams. And
yeah, he was an all-pro. Phillips was an all-pro as a special teamer, but played about 60% of the snaps as a safety.
Right. So they brought him in definitely for value. It's kind of like what they got out of Bethel, but more, they're going to get more defense out of him.
All right, at the NFL as a whole, how surprised are you that Jameis Winston and Cam Newton, two guys you played against, are on the street right now? Do you think they land anywhere, and are they going to have to be desperate and maybe sign a one-year prove-it deal with someone to raise their stock a little?
I think Jameis is definitely going to be desperate because he had 5 years to get it right. They see, you see the great, he throws an incredible football. I mean, just from what you want as a quarterback on the plus side, I mean, he's right up there with the top QBs, but it's like in this league, the percentages are there in terms of turnover. You can't give it away. And his turnovers were bad. It wasn't just like, he got stripped or, it bounced off the receiver's hands. Like that has happened, but there was some where it was pick six to start the game.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And to be, I think they were 7-9, and you had 30 picks. If he threw 18, they were in the playoffs, and 18 is a lot. So I think he's going to really struggle in terms of what he's looking for. I think a good situation for him would be to go somewhere like, maybe New Orleans, maybe Green Bay, maybe Seattle, somewhere behind a veteran quarterback that's going to bring it out of him. Kind of like what Tannehill did, in Tennessee, just understand a different way of playing offense. In his case, don't turn the ball over. But I think Cam Newton, he's going to have some suitors. Guys are going to really look at everything, more specifically his body. Is he going to be healthy? what is the truth? What is the real answer? And obviously they can't right now because of what's going on. So I like him right there at home, right there in New England. I like him there, and I also like him. I think it will suck, dude, because Tyrod's always getting the short end of the stick. But I like him, and I like him in San Diego. They're gonna have to because they're gonna have to fill up that stadium, and if they don't get Tua or somebody, then they're gonna struggle.
Do you think Cam? I don't know how big of an ego he has. Obviously, a confident guy, but Heisman Trophy, national champion, MVP. For him to sort of look in the mirror and be like, man, I got to get right, or at least get healthy and try to reinvent myself. Because if you told me Carolina's ditching him a year or two ago, we'd all say, I was crazy.
Yeah, well, what happened was, Tepe, when he took over, he said, I'm gonna fix everything from a business perspective. And now he announced this year. I love that he's transparent. He's like, this year I'm gonna put my hands all over the football thing. And not so much Cam's not going to be here. The fact that Ron Rivera is not there is more shocking to me, than anything. But they went there with a new plan and revamped. And I understand if Cam was not part of their plan. So I think for him, he's obviously arguably one of the greatest college football players, top three if you really want to debate everything for what he did at Auburn. And he's overcome adversity because he got kicked out of Florida and had to make his name all over. Actually went to JUCO, then Florida, had to make his name, and then went over there.
I think there was at one point he, Tebow, and who else am I forgetting?
Leak. I think Chris Leak was there.
Yeah, they were all on the roster at the same time.
Right.
It was just, it was wild.
I think it was.
You mentioned Auburn. What do you think of, do you know anything about, I mean, he only threw 4 balls last year, but Jarrett Stidham, if the Patriots decide to go with him, do you think he's someone that Belichick's had, stored away for a year and can pop? Or do you think he's just an average Joe?
I think he could pop, but I just don't know from a mental perspective. That's the biggest thing about this game is I tell the guys that I even train, I said, when you get to this level, everyone's fast, everyone's strong. It's different in the mind because you can really take somebody's will who was everything in college and in high school. So I had the pleasure of being around Jarrett out here in California. He trained with Jordan Palmer. So I got to watch him. I got to watch Kyle Allen. I got to watch Josh Allen, Sam Darnold, all those guys out here. So I definitely like his attitude. I like his mindset. But it'd be interesting to see him truly, go through a season to see what he's like. Even like 4 games that mean something to see how he is.
Stidham's living in Providence. Did you give him any Rhode Island pointers?
I didn't even know he was living in Providence. Yeah. It's kind of far.
Well, Providence is actually closer to Foxborough than Boston, but
it is. Well, go to Walpole or something like that, right?
Yeah.
I go to Rentham, be near the outlets.
So, what's going on with the wine business? Tell us about the NFL wine guy.
Yeah, so I refer to myself as the NFL wine guy, but the company is actually called the Wine MVP. And basically, it's going to be a subscription club where you sign up, $79.98 a month. You get 2 bottles that I select, I handpicked, and they're actually like legit curated, like from a real winery that has really good numbers and that's doing well. There's a lot of wine companies that, you can get, 5 bottles for $79, but they go and buy bulk juice and that's cheap, and they put a fake private label on there and they give it to you. So with this, you're gonna get legit wine, legit bottles. Really cool tasting notes. I'll have videos on that. It's going to be a for real wine club. And then also, I do a private concierge side. So I literally just 10 minutes fulfilled an order to fill up a certain guy's wine cellar.
Nice. So do you have the market covered in pro athlete circles and being out in LA? Is this like, hey man, I like wine. I don't know what I'm doing. Help me out.
That's the majority of what it is. Guys are still learning that's what I'm doing. And so I sent a guy out, a former Giant and also a former Saint just, today, sent out their stuff and plus guys are contacting me slowly because they're now realizing, okay, Will is not just talking about wine. Like this is actually his life. And he's studying to be a wine educator. It's not just a hobby. This is real deal for me, dude.
Yeah, you have the sommelier certificate, right?
Yeah, so I have a level 1. I actually went to take certified. It's funny, I didn't even study for it, and I just jumped in and did not pass at all. That thing was, not at all, dude. I took a risk. I was like, I actually asked one of the master songs. I was like, should I take it? He was like, yeah, just go for it. At worst, if you fail, at least you know what to expect next time. And so the funny thing about that exam, it's a tasting, there's a theory, and also a service. And I never worked in a restaurant in my life. So I was shaking in my boots to do the service part. But believe it or not, service is actually, I got the best score for service. I passed that. But
yeah.
So yeah, I'm excited about that.
Well, I was laughing. So my parents owned a restaurant in Narragansett for 31 years, Basil's, and my dad was always Wine Spectator Awards. So one night he broke out in Opus One, and I sent you a picture, and then you sent me back a picture of like 2 cases.
Oh, okay. That's what it was from?
Remember?
That's so funny. Yeah. That's funny.
I was like, oh, all right, you got the good stuff. How was it?
I was fulfilling an order right then and there too.
There
It was
you go.
A player from the Broncos wanted a case, so.
So you do the media thing on radio and TV with Fox, but we'll get to that in a second. You always hear about players trying to recreate their next, life after playing. You don't hear a lot about this specifically. So how is this post-playing career going for you right now? Because this is pretty unique.
No, I'll be super honest. It's extremely weird. It's actually pretty difficult because I've done one thing my entire life. Right. I played football from ages 6 to 34. My whole life was planned out. My whole life was scheduled. I had to wake up, go train, play a game, go to class, right. All that stuff. And because that's the only thing I ever wanted to do. There's a lot of guys that who get ready and have a plan B. Even going through the recruiting process is, plan B. I want to go to a good school, but no, I really want to go to the NFL. I never talked about it, but that's what I really wanted to do.
Right.
And so that's where it was super challenging. There's 2 transitions that's hard. You transition into the NFL because you have to become an adult overnight, and you're transition out. There's that. And yeah, I could do a lot of things, as you mentioned. I have the wine business. I could do TV, radio, whatever it is. And there's that whole thing going around calling more than an athlete, I'm not just an athlete. And I get it because it was from the lady who told LeBron to shut up and dribble.
Right.
I get what that's from. But that's all I want to be, was an athlete.
Yeah.
I'm totally fine because my dream was to be an NFL player. I had no idea how to get there, but I eventually did. And so that was difficult. But what makes it easy is my wife, Shauna, is beyond supportive in what I want to do. And I've been very, very fortunate to find another passion. That's the hard part is when you leave professional sports, it's like, what is your next passion? Because I can easily leave. I can go coach. I can go be a scout. I can be work in the front office, even work in TV. It's like, I love doing all this stuff, but it's like, man, what am I going to be excited to wake up about? What am I going to be excited to learn, and what's going to drive me? And as crazy as it sounds, this whole wine business is it does it for me. It's hard as hell right now. It's really tough because, one, I got to let people know how serious I am, and then trying to launch business off the ground. So it's pretty crazy. But yeah, the transition, I'm not gonna lie, the transition is super tough, even though it's exciting.
And there's another Boston College Eagle who's in Dan Copen just opened a brewery here in East Greenwich. So he's doing something in that vein too. What I'm curious about the TV side because
Matthias Kiwanuka has Wandering Wines.
Oh,
he actually has his own. Yeah, he has his own wine too.
And Drew Bledsoe has a very successful winery out in. Is it Oregon or Washington?
It's Washington. It's Doubleback. And Rick Meyer has Mirror Wines. Yep.
Interesting. I'm curious in the media and the TV stuff. A lot of former players want to get in it. How does that work? How do you stand out? I mean, you're a well-spoken, good-looking guy, but every year there's guys retiring, and who are you competing against for these jobs, for these roles? How does that work?
Yeah, well, I really don't know who I am. All I look at is like, okay, who's around my age, who's a former player. That's kind of what I look at, or who's a new face, But the cool thing in the business is that majority of us, we all support each other. With me, though, I low-key been putting in work since being in Green Bay. I used to do a radio show when I was in Green Bay.
Oh, nice.
I actually did radio shows, and I would guest appear on certain news stations on every team I played for. So, nice. And the main thing, too, is that I felt like I interviewed well. Even talking to the media, I legit like, hey, let me give them the time of day because I understood like this is my opportunity to use my voice.
Right.
Because I can be real vague and then something can get misconstrued. It was like, well, no, like this is your time to say something. Like if you got beat, say what happened. Like this is my chance to educate the consumer, educate the audience, so they understand. Not so much like, oh, he got like the one time, that one play that keeps showing over where I got beat by Odell. He made that really cool one-hand catch, and I literally.
Hold on, you were on him for the one-handed catch?
That was me. Yeah. No.
Are you serious?
No. The one
Not
against
this
Brett.
one.
No, the one he dove forward.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. No, that was Brandon Carr. It wasn't me. Hell no. That's different. The one he dove forward, and I tell people, I'm like, yeah, I had good coverage on him all game.
Yeah.
That was the only catch he made on me. And I said, honestly, I pushed him to the sideline. I looked up, and I'm like, okay, this ball is overthrown. There's no way he's gonna get this. Next thing you know, he just threw out his 4X glove and snatched the ball. Jeez. And it's like, yeah, I got beat, but they understood the situation where, man, he thought it was so. Or I could have said nothing, and they'd be like, "Oh, Will got killed by Odell."
Right.
That's what I mean. So I feel like I interviewed well, and I respected a lot of people. Where it's like, hey, guys are like, hey, you should check out Will. You should check out Will.
Yeah.
Specifically, like Mike Garafolo, who I knew as a beat writer in New York.
Yeah.
He called up Fox one day, like 2015, I believe it was, and was like, hey, you guys should check out Will. So.
Yeah, I like seeing you on the herd. I'm a big cow herd guy, so I like seeing you on there.
That show is funny because we don't even have a script.
Yeah.
We don't. I just sit on the couch and he just throws them at me. Yeah. But
it feels like Colin's mind is always a million miles an hour. You probably don't know what direction he's going in.
But I can catch him though. Like that, yeah. I think that's why we work, because I can get where he's going.
You just mentioned Odell. Who are the toughest receivers to cover when you're in the league?
Obviously Odell was one of them. AB was definitely another one. Josh Gordon, when he was in Cleveland, he was actually pretty tough.
Yeah.
Julio. But even on my own team, when I was on Green Bay, it was no days off. Yeah. Because one rep, I'm going against Donald Driver. Next rep, Greg Jennings. Next rep, Jordy Nelson. Next rep, James Jones. So in practice alone, that was a tough thing. And go ahead.
Were you just Rodgers or were you Favre too?
No, I was Favre for 2 years.
Favre for 2 years.
Yeah, the first.
How was Favre in the locker room?
He was cool, man. He got along with everybody. But what was funny is with Favre, here's the thing: our secondary would always go into a game prepared, because the QB we were going against all week on the scout team, or the number 2s, was Aaron Rodgers.
Right. Jeez.
So I mean, bullets were flying, dude. Like
first, so you knew early on, like this guy.
Everybody knew, even the front office, which is why they were trying to get Favre up out of there. So,
is the Will Blackmon camp returning this summer at Henderson?
Well, hopefully. Well, yeah, seriously, what's going on? We have no idea.
With the logistics of it,
That's what I'm saying.
That's probably an impossible question to answer at this point.
Right.
All right. This is going to be one that people are going to like. Give me the top 5 or 10 Rhode Island high school football players when you were either playing or coming up or after you left.
When I was okay, gosh. Well, I was the best player I have played against, and people put me 1. I put him 1. Is Lorenzo Perry.
Yeah.
First and foremost, like hands down, he was unreal, and
So he was LaSalle, then UMass, right?
LaSalle, UMass, and then he transferred to Bryant. Yeah, and I just wish he got a fair shot, man, because he was one of the best I ever seen. And then obviously I got to throw Jamie Silver in there. I've been going against him since he was 13. I actually threw a pick to him when he was 13 years old in the Super Bowl my sophomore year.
Wow.
to win the game, I hit him right in the chest. Matt Sherry, which was crazy. Yeah, which was crazy is he and I were on the same team. You had 2 guys that got drafted, on the same team. Mm-hmm. Matt Sherry. So hold, I got to get a pen because I need a.
So
hold on, don't mess me up.
Sherry was Villanova. Who did you just? Oh, Silva. He played a little with the Colts.
Yeah, he went to BC and then went to the Colts.
BC Colts. He was a madman with that long hair, right?
Yep. Orlando Johnson went to Rogers.
That's when Rogers was good.
Yeah, they had Orlando Johnson and EJ DeWitt. I'll tell you what, when I was a sophomore, Coventry had Mike Campbell, dude, and I thought he was nice. Mike Campbell was good, and then who did South Kingston What was his
So
name?
I'm a South Kingstown guy. He's older than us, but Mike
Mike.
Wilson. Do you
Mike
remember him?
Wilson. Yeah, Mike Wilson. Thank you.
Mike Wilson was good.
Wilson was a beast. Absolutely. Um, he was super good. And then, gosh, I forget his name. QB for EP when I was there.
I don't know.
Then you got Ralph and Mike Plum. You got the Peters from Portsmouth. Dude, it was
Liam. You got against what do you got against my boy Liam?
I got nothing against Liam. Hold on, I got my pencil. No big deal. Liam, I like Liam. That whole team was good.
Jake Flaherty, my SK guy.
Jake, yeah, he started doing well when I left.
He played at Syracuse. He's 2 years below you.
Yeah, it's funny though because we all went to the Boston College camp together.
Nice.
So
what's funny is if you are at Hendricken now, you would be the quarterback, right?
I should have played quarterback then.
Like now, the best athlete on the field is usually the quarterback.
Yeah, I should have played quarterback when I was in high school.
Were you technically a running back or a receiver?
I was a running back.
So then receiver in college and DB, and then just DB.
Yeah, I was a running back, and then I went out. I lined up at receiver, and if you guys didn't know I was getting the ball, I was kind of like no decoy here.
Did you know Keith Croft was going to be a successful head coach when he was a position coach for you?
I didn't know that he was actually interested in being a head coach. I know he was. We just knew he was very organized with special teams, yelling at us with his high pitched voice, on the field. But yeah, and obviously, Buddy, who's always involved,
right,
was a big deal. So.
Last one. I know you come back for the camp. What do you when you come back with the family? Where do you? Anything specifically you bring the kids around, or just to see the family, or when you're back in Rhode Island, what is it you try to accomplish?
That's the biggest thing is a sense of family and community. I preach every year that growing up, I never met a pro player. I never met anybody in the NFL.
Yeah.
So I feel like it's not just my duty, but I enjoy to come back and be around these kids and just to show them. Basically, the main thing is I didn't have any advantages. I didn't have any privileges. It wasn't, oh, he got to go here, he got to do this. It was like, nah, man. Like I went to school South Side, and I went to school Asa Mesa, which is on the West End. And then I went to school in Flynn on the South Side. And I went to school in Isaac Hopkins, which is Chad Brown. I mean, those are not nice areas by any means. And I tell those kids, I sat in those seats. I am from Providence, like right here. And I didn't do, all I did was I just stayed out of trouble. That was it. I just stayed out of trouble. And all the coaches I brought back too, Coach Dunbar, the Monk brothers, all those guys, they come back. Chancellor Logan, I played against Brother Gavin Logan. They all come back and help out because I want to show these kids, like, even if you didn't go to the NFL, these guys are still from your hometown.
Right.
And they have gone somewhere because they stay out of trouble. All of us support each other the whole time. So I went to the Boston College camp in 2000 when I was 14. That's when I got my first scholarship. And then I was like, damn, dude, my guys, Jamie Silva, Matt Sherry, like these guys could really benefit from this. So I called all of them up. I said, next year we're all going. Like, let's go. And everybody walked out of there with either an offer or interest.
Nice.
So
was BC your first offer? Were you loyal to them all along?